The grocery store buzzed with the usual noise of carts rolling and scanners beeping, but for him, time seemed to move slower. A tired single dad stood in line, his shoulders heavy with the weight of more than just the day. In his calloused hand, he clutched a loaf of bread, a carton of milk, and one crumpled dollar bill, the very last dollar he had left. His little girl held onto his other hand tightly, her small fingers warm against his rough skin. She looked up at him with wide, innocent eyes, the kind that still believed her daddy could fix everything. "Daddy, are we gonna be okay?" she whispered softly, her voice carrying more worry than a child her age should ever know. He forced a smile, swallowing the knot in his throat, trying to make his eyes shine with the reassurance his heart didn't feel. The line moved forward, and as he stepped closer to the cashier, his chest tightened. He knew that dollar wasn't enough, but it was all he had to offer. The world around him felt so normal, people chatting, kids laughing, bags filling with groceries, yet for him, every sound echoed his fear of failing his daughter. He thought of how many times he had gone without so she could eat, how many nights he had stayed awake planning a future that seemed impossible. That single dollar was more than money, it was his last hope to hold on a little longer. The cashier scanned the loaf of bread with a quick beep, then the milk, and read out the total. His stomach dropped, it was a few cents more than the dollar he held so tightly. He stared at the screen, wishing somehow the numbers would change, that life would bend just once in his favor. His daughter's eyes flickered from the groceries to his face, searching for answers. With a deep breath, he forced a crooked smile and gently slid the milk aside, whispering, "Just the bread, please." The words tasted bitter in his mouth, like defeat. The little girl's lips curved downward, her disappointment plain, but she stayed quiet, trying not to make things harder for him. He could see it in her eyes though, that small heartbreak only a child can feel when dreams are dashed in silence. The cashier, busy and expressionless, bagged the bread as if it were just another transaction, but to him it was the difference between being a father who could provide and one who couldn't. His hand trembled as he handed over the single dollar, crumpled and worn from passing through too many desperate moments. He felt the weight of every choice pressing down on his chest, choosing between food and his daughter's small joy, between survival and comfort. And as the receipt printed, the quiet ache inside him grew louder, whispering the question he didn't want to face: how much longer could he keep going like this? Just as he reached for the bag with the lone loaf of bread, a gentle voice broke through the heaviness. "Don't worry about it, I've got this." The words floated over his shoulder like a lifeline. He froze, unsure if he'd heard correctly, until a hand appeared beside him holding out a debit card. Turning, he saw a stranger, someone he didn't recognize, just an ordinary face with kind eyes and a steady smile. For a moment, the father couldn't speak. His throat tightened, his chest rising and falling as though he had forgotten how to breathe. "No, I can't let you," he stammered, shame and gratitude colliding inside him. But the stranger shook their head softly. "It's okay. Really. Let me." The cashier, barely lifting an eyebrow, rang the items again, this time leaving the milk in the bag. The little girl's face lit up, her eyes widening as she hugged the carton against her chest like it was something magical. The father stood there, torn between disbelief and the rush of emotion surging through him. Tears prickled at the corners of his eyes as he whispered, Why would you do this for us?" The stranger's smile didn't falter. "Because I've been where you are. And once, someone did the same for me." In that moment, surrounded by the mundane buzz of the store, the father felt something stir inside him, something he thought he had lost: hope. The stranger's words lingered in the air, carrying a weight that felt both gentle and powerful. The father blinked hard, trying to steady his voice, but before he could speak again, the stranger added softly, "One day, when you can, just pass it on. That's all I ask." There was no pity in their tone, only sincerity, like a quiet reminder that kindness was a circle, not a debt. The father's daughter clutched the milk tightly to her chest, her smile so wide it seemed to light up the aisle. She looked up at the stranger with pure gratitude, then suddenly wrapped her tiny arms around them in an innocent hug. The gesture caught both adults off guard, yet in that simple embrace, the heaviness of the moment seemed to soften. The father's throat tightened again, but this time it wasn't from despair, it was from the warmth of something he hadn't felt in a long time, being seen, being cared for, without asking, without judgment. His eyes glistened as he whispered, "Thank you. You don't know what this means." The stranger gave a small nod, as though they understood perfectly. For the father, it wasn't just about bread and milk anymore. It was about being reminded that even in his darkest struggles, there were people in the world who cared. For the first time in months, he felt a spark of hope ignite inside his chest, fragile, but real. As they stepped out of the store into the cool evening air, the father carried the small bag in one hand while his daughter skipped beside him, holding the milk as if it were a treasure. He paused just outside, kneeling down so his eyes met hers. The weight of everything he'd been carrying, the exhaustion, the fear, the loneliness, seemed to ease in that moment. "Do you see, sweetheart," he said softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "There are still good people in this world. People who help, even when they don't have to." She nodded, her innocent smile shining with a trust that made his chest ache. "One day," he continued, his voice steady but full of emotion, "when we're able, we'll help someone else, just like that kind stranger helped us. That's how the world gets better." His daughter hugged him tightly, and for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel like he was failing her. He felt rich, not in money, but in love, in kindness, in the small miracle of humanity. As they walked home, hand in hand, his heart carried a new promise, to never let the struggle take away the goodness he wanted his daughter to believe in. And in that quiet walk under the fading light, one truth shone brighter than any hardship: sometimes, even the smallest act of kindness can change everything.